this all came about after Jamie Carragher said he thought he was watching the Oscars when Ramsdale at the side of the pitch was seen to be applauding a save from David Raya.
Which Carragher was right on.
Right. Well, Nate Ramsdale very much does not think that. He thinks that a bit of class should have been shown here. He's having a pop at you as well because you're really not making a distinction in his eyes in your argument. I mean, when it all said and done, is there anything wrong with Nick Ramsdale coming to his son's defence and saying, "Look, he did what he did. He clapped his teammate Raya, who incidentally has put him out of his position."
Firstly, I like Ramsdale, so I've backed him low. I think he's a tremendous goalkeeper. There's nothing to do with this. I don't understand the distinction between personal and professional. I don't know where that's going. I think me personally in that situation wouldn't do what he did because I'd speak to my son.
Do what?
Defend my son on social media or come out fighting if somebody said something on a commentary, made an opinion, because it's just an opinion. And the first thing I'd do is I'd be speaking to my son, having a chat with him about it and seeing where he's at. That's it.
If he was your son, you wouldn't have done it.
And I wouldn't. And if I was advising my son now in this world in a similar situation, I'd be telling him, unless something drastic or dramatic had happened, to not respond to things on social media about what you're doing at the football club. The only person you need to be talking to is the manager in the confined space of the training ground or the stadium. You don't need to be going out in public and commenting about what a commentator says about you or a pundit on the radio or television. That would be my advice.
Well, he did. But better than that, he's gone even further because he's now doubled down on it. This is father of Aaron Ramsdale, Nick Ramsdale, again on the Highbury Squad podcast on this current situation.
It's all seemed to have come crashing down. And before anybody says, yeah, but they're earning a lot of money. Yes, they are earning a lot of money, but you don't go and play sport to earn money. You play sport because you love it. And to be honest, Aaron's lost that smile that you showed when he was holding on to that ball at the moment in time. And it's difficult. Squads evolve all the time. Nobody's going to be there forever. David Raya has not pulled up trees so far. Who's to say he's not going to? You've got to give the guy a chance, for God's sake. Even though the way it's been done, in my eyes, it's been wrong, and we can talk about that. But that's the decision. So really and truly, we've all got to get behind David Raya. He's part of the family now. Whether it's only until May, June of next year, it won't be. It'll be longer in my eyes, but that's by the by. But you've got to.
In there, he's actually backing Raya and the decision that's been made. But he's having a pop. He's having a dig, Simon, at the handling of it.
The question is,
gift to do that.
Yeah, the question is, Jim, is why is somebody's dad playing the Premier League on a podcast? Why is he on a podcast?
Of course, it's his gift. As Frank,
we're all different. He's allowed to do what he wants.
Of course, he is.
But why would you want your dad on any platform, media platform, while you're trying to?
That's the central point, isn't it?
Why?
It's not the fact. Of course, he can say something. As the Arsenal-loving Frank Warren is texting me saying he's not Russia, Simon. They can say what they want, right? The point is that he's a professional sportsman. Why do you need your mummy and daddy to come out and say things to you? What's the next thing? The manager's going to read him a bedtime story and tuck him up in bed at night?
Exactly.
Get over it. It is absurd. No one's opining on the reality of what the player's performance is. But when you hear highfalutin professional footballers having their parents speak on their behalf, what's going on?
Something not right with it.
People are going to look at it with disdain. Of course they are.
Ramsdale's going to have a wonderful career wherever he ends up. He's a brilliant goalkeeper. And his dad just needs to let him get on. Don't be going on podcasts. Don't be talking about anything, because people will twist and manipulate your words. And he'll end up coming back to Ramsdale in interviews, and his manager might even pull him in and go, I mean, look, Gerard Houllier.
I mean, his father's come to his son's defence because people like you and Carragher were sounding off about it.
I didn't sound off about him.
Yeah,
I sounded
you
off.
were saying grow up.
I'm sounding off about the fact that any parent, including him, shouldn't be talking about a grown man who's his son, who's made a professional footballer in the Premier League and is international. He can speak for himself.
Correct.
Do your thing at home. Speak privately to whoever you want. Correct. And moan away on. Do what you want.
But his father's his own man. And if he wants to speak
and we're all different.
He's quite right to speak out.
And Danny's his own man. And I actually think that what Jamie Carragher wrote was a bit mean-spirited, unnecessary. And I do think that if I was Ramsdale, I'd say something about it, or we'll just rise above it and ignore it, right? Because it's actually chip paper. But his father's given it more credence. And the fact of the matter is, when you've got Harry Maguire's mother coming out, you've got Aaron Ramsdale's father coming out, you've got these boys that live in this world, this vacuum of immense recognisability, immense rewards, and every now and again a bit of adversity. How about allow them to overcome the adversity with a bit of resilience and fortitude, which is supposedly what makes professional sportsmen be the elite men that they are. Have you ever heard, you know what we're going to get, Richie Sunak's dad come out and start worrying about what's happening to him in the political landscape? Oh, for God's sakes, these are grown men being paid like grown men. Give them an opportunity to take the outrageous slings and arrows of fortune, rather than get mummy and daddy to come out and say, my boy's getting a little bit of a shellacking.
Yeah, but
give over.
I knew you would take that.
Give over.
That stance, because with you, everything's power through it.
No, it's
get
not.
out the other end.
His
dad,
what's the alternative then?
Is talking on behalf of his son.
He's a man. He's a professional footballer. He doesn't need his daddy to talk about him.
It's unbelievable.
But you don't think for a moment that Aaron has said,
Do you think Aaron
Dad,
Ramsdale...
get out there and back me up in this?
No
His
chance.
father has decided of his own volition to back his son.
Well, his father should use better judgment then.
But what's wrong with
It
it?
says a lot about the dynamic of the relationship.
I don't think it's there to be sneered at.
Yeah, but you're from a
sneering at it,
different...
To be belittled.
You're suggesting
You're not sneering at it.
I'm not sneering at it. I'm
Mummy
suggesting
and
that
daddy. We don't
I'm
need
suggesting
mummy
that it's
and daddy.
well, it is that, isn't it? Because I'm giving you two examples. One was a mummy, the other was a daddy. Right, so they're not hypotheses, they're facts, right? So the bottom line is why would you want a professional sportsman, or why would if that was me and I was Aaron Ramsdale, I'd go, Dad, pack it in.
Yeah,
wouldn't do it again. He's done it again. He's carried it on. He's doubled down, and because he's offended on behalf of his son that Danny Murphy's had the audacity to turn around and said, "You're not 12." This isn't schoolboy football. This isn't a debate. This isn't where a parent gets to admonish the teacher for not picking his son. This is ridiculous.
Okay. Many of you getting in touch. There is one, no naming it. What's the difference between Aaron Ramsdale's father defending his son and Danny defending his ex-teammate? You do? You defend your former teammates?
I'll give a balanced argument
lot.
when I'm asked in my punditry role. If someone asks me a question, I'll give a balanced opinion back.
Yeah.
But as a father, which I am, and as a sportsman, which I've been, the thought of somebody's dad I played with coming out and defend, they'd get absolutely hammered.
What about your surrogate son, Mason Mount? You defend him quite regularly, don't you?
But I'm also realistic. And obviously I'm aware he's not started well and he deserves criticism. But I'm not his dad.
Well, Jamie in Stevenage says, give the dad a break, for goodness sake. He's been invited onto a podcast and he gave an insightful, honest opinion on how he sees the goalkeeping situation at Arsenal. The only people who seem to be offended by this is Danny and Simon. It's not as if Aaron pleaded with his old man to make the announcement on the podcast.
You don't go on.
No, but we're talking about the judgment of a father and the nature of a professional sportsman. In today's society, I would expect certain people within the confines of society that are sitting there with the constant need to worry about how people are feeling all the time rather than developing a little bit of resilience and fortitude will probably think that myself and Danny are hard-hearted swines. In the real world, where it takes a great deal of gumption and traction and resilience to become a professional footballer, the standard that Aaron Ramsdale has clearly achieved, it really doesn't need your father to come out and defend you.
Well, the irony is,
that's all we're saying.
If you're protecting your son, you don't do the interviews. Because if you're
give
protecting
them
your
less.
son, you don't make more news and headlines for him. You just support him privately and you're there for him when you need. You guide him through, you help him, you advise him. I'm sure his dad's a nice fella. There's no doubt about it. I'm sure he loves his son, he's a lovely fella.
Or if you're the modern-day father's footballer, you get a new house and some cars and a big load of money like your mate Neymar Senior, running around with a bevy of beautiful women because his son's a famous footballer and he looked like a frog.
You're loving this, aren't you?
I just think
Jim, there's no way in the world you don't agree with us.
How do you think Arteta's handled this situation, Danny? Because all of a sudden it was, as I said in the introduction there,
I think
it was
he's...
Ramsdale's domain. And all of a sudden life has changed. And that's what Ramsdale Senior is alluding to.
Yeah, I think...
My boy's situation's changed.
I think Ramsdale's situation is really unlucky for him. I think he hardly put a foot wrong and everyone was surprised that he's been overtaken so quickly and without a fair battle, if you like. But on the other side, I suppose you've got to admire Arteta's conviction and having the courage of his convictions and thinking that Ray is better. Because he obviously does. He's put him in and put him in, and that's it. And if you're an Arsenal fan, You support the manager. Apparently, that's what you do. If you support the manager, you've got to go with it. And I think they're both really good keepers, by the way. But I think Ramsdale's desperately unlucky. The one thing for sure with Ramsdale, he's going to have an abundance of options.
Agreed. Top quality goalkeeper. Very unlucky, but the manager's made a decision. And that's what management's about.
And his stock is high.
Yeah.
He's an England goalkeeper. He's a top quality Premier League goalkeeper who will have lots of options. And if he doesn't play from now to the end of the season, I can't see him being there next season.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.